أعمال التالي هل على الشيعة بالمهدي جينا نجدد البيعة. يوم 3 من شعبان أبو الرحمة بمولد إمام حسين أبو اليمة. يوم 3 من شعبان أبو الرحمة.
He says, do you know the value of these tears? Do you know the impact of these tears? Do you know the influence that these tears wield in the akhirah?
كل هاليوم ملتمة تنادي بصوت عالي وتلهج باسمه.
All of us have heard about the tradition that talks about crying over Imam Hussain alayhi salam. Let me tell you one hadith how it exactly unfurled. And this is narrated by the 8th Imam Ali ibn Musa Rada alayhi salatu wassalam. But the riwayat is long. I'm going to cut short the initial part and come back to the part, or basically reach the part that I need to present to you. So Imam Rada is sitting, the companions are there, discussion is going on, full on, which we don't want to discuss. The point comes to a point where Imam is now asking the companions that are sitting, identifying one of them and asking him, do you feel for our Jad Hussain ibn Ali and the masa'ib that he has faced? We're not talking about masa'ib tonight. Huh? This is just hadith that we're talking. Says, do you feel grief for him? Says, yes. Says, really feel sorry for him? Does your heart grieve? Does your heart weep? Says, yes. He says, do your eyes weep? He says, yes, my eyes weep. Now the 8th Imam mentions a tradition, which you've heard so many times, but I want to break it down to you. Imam says, any individual who wants to weep and begins to weep over our grandfather, over the masa'ib that he has faced, over the persecution that he has faced, over the oppression that he has faced, when this individual is about to cry, he's not crying. He's about to cry, and eventually he will cry. It says the process takes place in 2 steps. The first thing that God gives to this individual even before he starts crying is he showers his mercy upon this man. He's not begun to cry. The tears have not come out. But he says, now we don't want to go into this aspect because I want to take you on a different line. It says, first of all, God showers his mercy upon this individual who is about to cry. Then he says, when this person begins to weep and the tears come out of his eyes, he says, do you know the value of these tears? Do you know the impact of these tears? Do you know the influence that these tears wield in the akhirah? So this Rabbi says, Sahabi says, I don't know. Yabna Rasulullah, you know better than us. He says, listen, if these tears of this individual who's weeping over Hussain ibn Ali were to drop, and if God were to pick up one drop of the tears of this man who has wept over the masa'ib and the persecution of Hussain, and if he were to drop it into hell, the entire fire of Jahannam would get extinguished. Now, Wawa is okay, because we are now looking only at the superficial meaning. But let me explain to you what this means. That when this 8th Imam says, one drop of the tears shed over Hussain ibn Ali extinguishes the entire fire of hell, has the ability, has the influence, has the impact to completely annihilate and extinguish the fire of hell. For this, I need you to take it to another direction. See, we had a lot of discussion 2010 when I was here. We talked about Qiyamah, yeah? And that's why many of the people, even now, they don't come to me. So, it's start off. But today I have to say it. So listen, we're talking about Barzakh, about Qiyamah. No, we're coming still closer. We're not talking about anything else. We're talking about Barzakh. According to the traditions, when a sinning person is put into the qabr, we want to understand that drop of tear, what it does, the impact. Riwayat say when a sinning person, when a gunehgar is put into the grave, his Barzakh starts. One of the traditions narrated by Jibreel to the Holy Prophet. He tells to the Holy Prophet, Ya Muhammad, when a sinning servant of God is put into the qabr, he is tied in chains made of fire. Now the chains, chains are made up of halaqat. Halaqa means links. These links interlink together to form one continuous chain. It says when a sinning servant of God goes into the grave, one of the punishments that is meted out to him is his entire body is covered by chains made up of links. But the surprising thing is that these links are not made up of iron. These links are made up of fire. These links are made up of fire, and in the qabr now he's being punished. So the Prophet is hearing. Jibreel then tells the Holy Prophet, let me explain further to you to make you realize what exactly is happening. He says, Ya Muhammad, this entire chain that this person is tied to in the grave because of his disobediences that he has in this world, if one link of this chain, as soon as death comes, you are into the Akhirah. Till you don't see Malakul Maut, you are in dunya. When you see Malakul Maut, you enter into Akhirah. Jibreel is saying, Ya Muhammad, this one link out of this entire chain, which is now enclosing and which is now fettering this individual who is a sinning servant in the grave as a punishment for his actions, even if one link of this chain were to be dropped down and brought into the dunya, understand this is barzakh. Barzakh is part of the akhirah. Says if one link of this fire chain were to be taken out and dropped on upon the mountain of a world, one mountain of a world, Andes, the Himalayas or whatever, he says, Ya Muhammad, one link of this heated link is enough to cause that entire mountain to become molten and flow as lava. This is one link. This individual is wrapped by these halaqat, one interlinked with the other to form a chain. You understood what he said. Now understand what is happening. This is the fire of the akhirah in this world. And how many times have you seen that when we sit for food, at times it is breakfast, at times it is in the afternoon, at times when it is breakfast, and without a conscious effort, you pick up that glass of chai and you put it to your mouth without taking due precaution. You turn to burn your lips. That little bit of fire which has heated the tea in the cup that you're having is having such an impact. For several hours, the pain of the burn continues to remain. Riwayat say, metaphorically, the fire that comes into this world, metaphorically, has been washed 70 times to reduce the heat of the akhirah. That means the heat of the akhirah, the fire of the akhirah is taken. It has been watered down 70 times metaphorically to reduce it to the level that this world is able to tahammul and become mutahammil, is able to bear. The world, in this world, the fire that you and me see, which heats up this tea of ours to the level that a little bit of lack of caution burns our lips so that for hours that pain continues to remain, is a watered down version 70 times metaphorically of the fire of the akhirah, which if the link were to be placed on the mountains would turn into molten lava. This is the fire of the dunya. That is the fire of akhirah, which on Thursday you and me every night recite dua of Kumail when Ali says, Oh Allah, this world that I'm bearing, the punishments of this world, the adversities of this world, the calamities of this world, I cannot bear. How will I bear the punishment of akhirah and that which emanates from your anger over your disobedient servants of a measure that ma la taqumu lahu samawatu wal ard, the kind of punishment that neither the heavens nor the earth are able to bear up. This is Ali telling us, understand, the fire and the adhab of the akhirah is of a certain nature that Ali is crying out for help. Oh Allah, this is of a nature I want to tell my followers they will not be able to bear it. We heard Jibreel talking about the sense of the heatedness of that link. Now you understand, if this is what is one link about whom Ali is complaining, this is one link out of that entire fire of hell, which then Quran says when somebody goes into the actual hell, the words of the Quran, la yamutu fiha wa la yahya, it is a place when an individual goes, la yamutu fiha, he will never die in the in Jahannam, because in the akhirah there is no death. Wa la yahya, neither will he remain alive. The shiddat of the adhab is so much that he's on the verge of death, but death does not come. The punishment is of such a nature, the fire is of such a nature. Now you realize the impact of one drop of the tears of Hussain. If you pick it up, God were to pick it up and put it into the hell, the entire fire of hell gets extinguished. Now you realize the importance of Hussain. Now you realize the impact of Hussain. One drop is able to overcome all of these things that Ali is now crying out and telling us, be wary of what is going to happen in hell. Now you realize one drop, and you realize one thing. The riwayat does not say the tears of Hussain. The riwayat does not say the tears that came out of the eyes of Hussain when he was holding Asghar in his hands. The riwayat says your tears and my tears, not the tears of a masoom. The tears of the masoom are in a different realm altogether. They are on a different level altogether. It's an infallible tear which is not being considered. It is an individual like you and me, more like me, a sinning servant of God. My tears, if cried for Hussain, has the impact to extinguish khamosh, the fire of hell. Now you understand the rank of Hussain. But when you talk about this is about Hussain. The statement that I said initially was the fact that anything associated with Hussain, anybody associated with Hussain in an appropriate sense, in the correct manner, then draws the level of spiritual perfection, draws the karamat of Hussain into itself. You know, in physics, when we were in school, we studied magnetism and about magnets. Yeah, one of the ways we would say, how is a magnet made? So you have the electromagnetic method of making magnets, and then you have one of the methods that if you have a magnet and a piece of iron, you rub the iron to the magnet, you rub the iron and the magnet to each other, and slowly after some time this iron tends to acquire the properties of magnetism. It will attract metal. Why? Because it kept rubbing. This is exactly what happens with anything and everything associated with Ahlul Bayt.
من الله إلنا مولد حسين وكلنا نمشي بنهج تشريعه.